If you're looking to book a cruise, or maybe you got back from a cruise to a really big bill, well, you are about to meet the most active cruiser that I know. And with that, he's got a plethora of knowledge, wisdom, and guidance to share with us today. So I'd like to introduce you to Sai. Sai, great to have you today. I'm glad that you're not on a cruise so that you can actually join us with the Wi Fi restrictions on cruises. So thank you for joining us.
I'm very happy to be here. My wife Donna is in support mode. We've traveled together actually 52 years in our marriage, but 15 years in cruises, and about 100 of them if you're counting. So I'm happy to share some of our insights that Donna and I've put together here for this.
Well, I think a reflection or a bit of a trophy of all your cruising is behind you. You've got a Starbucks mug collection, and you may be as close as anyone to having the full collection of Starbucks mugs all around the world.
Well, yes, thanks for noticing. I think that's one of Donna's treasures from cruising. And it always, of course, adds a little excitement to the process because some places you have to really go find them, and then you got to get them safely home. So we don't have quite 100 for all of the places that we've been, but as many as have a Starbucks cup, we have tried to gather one, and we'll stay on in the quest.
Wonderful. Well, that's definitely very tangible, something very tangible from all the cruising you've done. And so I just wanted to maybe start off with asking just simply, what do you feel are the biggest budget busters when taking a cruise? Some of the things that you don't really anticipate or expect if you don't cruise a lot, then you end up saying to yourself, wow, I'm really surprised how this really added to my budget.
Well, I think the two most obvious ones, and probably the largest for most people, actually are simply drinks and excursions. Now, you would expect both to drink and to go on excursions, but as you said, what you don't realize is how they add up so quickly when you do it regularly. Especially if you do family cruising and you are drinking alcohol and the kids are drinking soft drinks, and then they add 18% gratuities roughly to that. Those numbers can get fairly large fairly quickly. We'll talk a little bit more about excursions in just a moment, but I think it's, first of all, good advice to ask yourself, how much do I want to drink? And if you really think you need a package to cover what you're doing, certainly before the cruise starts, look into buying a package ahead of time. Because that's when you're going to get the biggest discount and in that sense, bang for your buck. But for most people who are, I would say, social drinkers, you want to try to take advantage of what the lines will let you do that don't cost you anything. Such as if you want wine, carry a bottle for each person over 21, carry a bottle in your luggage. You can bring that on board. If you are talking more about water or soft drinks, you can usually bring a 12-pack on. A little hard sometimes to take on the airplane, but if you can buy one locally, you bring that on and help defray those particular costs. But what we like to do is just take advantage of the free drinks on board. So if you're in the alcoholic category, make sure you go to the captain's reception. Make sure you go to loyalty events, even the art auction. You don't have to buy any art. Just enjoy a drink or two while you're there. They usually are handing out champagne. And down in the shops, just do the walkthrough when they're doing tastings of all the available liquors. I'm not sure that you'd want to go through so many times that you actually get drunk, but you can certainly get some nice tastings there and save the dollars in your pocket for other things. We also carry a bottle like one of these, just something you can easily screw the top off of.
Yeah.
Do refills in the buffet take advantage of the free drinks there, which will be usually fruit drinks, lemonade, tea, something along that line.
Yeah.
And a particular favorite for Donna is to just tell them to fill our ice bucket in the room with ice. We let it melt all day and we drink nice cold water at night. Of course, the water is drinkable from the tap, but the quality of the water, I think, is a little bit better. And save those dollars that you would spend on water and soft drinks and liquor to for special occasions.
Well, I saw a survey showing that the average couple on a holiday of 1 week or more spends over $300 on alcohol. So on a cruise ship, it's probably a lot more than that or a lot less, depending on how savvy you are or not about it.
Right, yeah, and just one quick comment on packages. Some people could buy the package and then feel they have to drink to it, and it does lead to a lot of alcohol consumption. And if you're traveling with someone over 21, you probably have to get two packages for a room because they don't usually let you buy an individual one and then share drinks. So it's going to cost more even if there are savings associated with it.
Now, Sai, you mentioned you could bring one bottle of wine onto a ship. Could you do that in every port city as you have day trips? You could bring one bottle of wine.
If you're in areas where you can acquire something locally, right, on embarkation you can. There have been a few circumstances, special trips where we've been able, but generally I would not count on that as a rule where you could get it on.
Just day number one
Right,
as you embark for the first time. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've had back-to-back circumstances where you can do it on the next embarkation day, so you're replenished. But generally speaking, it's embarkation day restrictions.
Only. Okay. Got it. Got it. And then you mentioned the second budget buster is excursions.
Yes, excursions. I think a rule of thumb that I'll say for all the things we talk about is if you really want to do it and you really want to do it through the ship, then buy it before you get on the ship. You usually will get the best offerings. Some they say up to 50%, but 25 to 30, maybe 40% on most things. But recognize that in some ways, cruise excursions are convenience priced. That means you buy through the ship, they give you a guarantee, they overlay a charge on the on the tour provider, and the price goes up. So we save money by going outside. A lot of people are concerned about getting back to the ship if you go outside, but we have, in 100 cruises, we have never really come close to missing a cruise. Just be careful about who you choose to work with. Stick with the more reputable providers. Viator and others along that line usually have not only money-back guarantees, but get you to the ship guarantees. The other thing that we like to do, I'll come back to this when we talk about saving in buying cruises toward the end, but we book through Costco Travel, and because Costco is a wholesale provider, they have an arrangement with a Shore Excursions group. So if you book with them, you can go in through a special access to Shore Excursions group and get an additional 10% off any excursion that you want to book with them. The price will almost always be lower than a comparable excursion purchased through the ship. And they also have greater diversity of excursions available through the set of providers that they have access to. So it saves you money and gives you more opportunity.
That's right. And you book a lot of cruises, and you've really seen superior value with Costco. Even when we met, you were on a do-it-yourself excursion, I believe, when we met for the first time. And so you'll do things yourself as well. And just I think I recall you'll even just use regular guidebooks, like Rick Steve's guidebooks and various things, and map out your own excursions.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest money saver, especially if you're going to places where it's a city. There are old town areas. Things are fairly compact. So what we typically do is if we don't have a particular guidebook, we might go to a site like Map My Walk or GPS My Walk, or Map My City or GPS My Walk. And they actually have layouts that will advise you how to walk around a city or take local transportation around a city. And you can take a metro for the equivalent of $1 or a local bus for $1.50 or something like that to get to more outlying places. But if you are an intrepid traveler and willing to do a little research, you just find what you want to visit and spend your time walking. And a nice little hack that we take advantage of is if we don't have a GPS laid out walk, we'll just, on the ship or in the terminal where you have access to some Wi-Fi, open up a map, get a local positioning, and then as you walk around, that you don't lose that map really. So we've basically had that little GPS indicator that says you are here, and it helps us walk around the city with our own little pre-planned route, enjoying all of the sights and probably a little bit more than you get when you're traveling around with a busload of 40 or 50 people.
Love it, love it, love it. In terms of maybe go-to things, in addition to the apps, when it comes to saving money on a cruise, are there certain ways or little things you've identified that these are some rules of thumb that I have to consistently be able to save money?
Yeah, there are some certainly to take advantage of. One thing that we found out early on is you should look at the whether being a shareholder garners you any benefit on a cruise. So we happen to cruise mostly with Royal Caribbean Corporation lines, and they have a so-called shareholders benefit. So if you're able to put 100 shares into your portfolio, every cruise you go on, you can request access to a shareholders benefit, which will garner you some onboard credit. There are a few restrictions on how they do it. So if you buy a cruise on a sale and get a big onboard credit bunch, they may not give you the extra, but on most cruises you can get $50 to $150, maybe $200, depending upon what kind of room you booked, in onboard credit to then spend on whatever you want to spend it on.
It's like a dividend for shareholders, but instead of a payout, and the more you cruise, you get this credit every time you book a cruise. So the more you cruise, the more you get, I guess.
That's right. And it's a simple request sent into the corporation, and they will let you know, and you show up in your room, and there it is in your account, just something extra to spend. Beyond that, other sorts of things are take advantage of discounts on port days. So if you are cruising on a fast track around Europe during the summer, for example, where you have a port almost every day, and you feel like you need a spa day, then take that spa day on a port day, and generally speaking, you'll start out with a nice discount on the cost, and you'll also probably have a lot more slots open because most people, of course, leave the ship. So when others leave, stick around and take advantage of lower prices.
Well, that ties into a bit of my philosophy. I'm a contrarian by nature. So on long weekends, I'm not going to tourist destinations. Like with this weekend, Canada Day, or the 4th of July, when everybody's going to certain places. So that apply. It's kind of a universal principle, just about anywhere. Great. And I think you were also saying, talking about booking excursions, certain things like before your cruise, like restaurants and stuff on the ship as well.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So, of course, they work very hard at getting you to go to the specialty dining venues, and a lot of them are unique enough and a distinct enough difference in the quality of the food, even though it's good in the restaurants, the regular restaurants. They spend a lot of time trying to get you there, but as usual, we always try to look for the cheapest way to get there and enjoy that opportunity. So in many cases, on the first day or two of a cruise, if you buy a couple of meals, you'll get a decent discount on that. In the category of excursions, again, I'll mention that if you do buy ahead of time, before you get on the cruise for the most part, you will find that the prices are not only discounted, but they're discounted from a lower price, because we've definitely had circumstances when we've not booked something ahead, or even if we have booked something ahead, gotten on the ship and looked at the same excursion and found out that because of demand, the price had gone up. So there is time, the time value of money may save you some extra by, again, booking early. Also, one other thing that I'll mention here, and it applies in a lot of areas, is consider the value of loyalty. We have a lot of friends out there who have exploited the lowest cost they can find on any number of cruises on any number of cruise lines, and have a very low level of loyalty status with the cruise line. We, by design, decided that we were going to cruise with Royal Caribbean, the cruise line, and then cruise with Royal Caribbean Corporation lines. And we quickly climbed those ladders once we decided that cruising was our way to go. And most of the things we're talking about now, including drinks and Wi-Fi, when we talk about that, we don't pay for at all, because those are part of the perks you get through your status. Not only that, but of course, better versions of those loyalty programs and things, upper tier events, when we gather with our friends there, and access to other lounges. So do factor in loyalty if you think that cruising is the way you want to go, because it does have value.
Now, for someone who cruises moderately, how many cruises in a year or how many weeks in a year on average do you think you'd have to be on it to get to a point where you maybe take that first step up the ladder?
Well, the first one is an easy step. It's basically after your first cruise, you get on the first rung of the ladder.
Oh, great.
And then let's see, if you do really simple math of one cruise night equals 1 point, you can reach a significant level, which is called Diamond and Royal Caribbean. It's got other names and other programs, of course, but that would be the equivalent of 10 7-night cruises. So if you do a couple of 7-night cruises a year, it might take you a couple of years to get there, but even as you go through the other stages, Platinum and Emerald and so on, you start getting discounts, you start getting a 2-for-1 on drinks, things like that. So everything becomes a little bit incrementally cheaper until you cross that threshold. And again, Royal Caribbean calls it Diamond, and you get to go to the Diamond Lounge and enjoy the free drinks and things like that. Those programs are changing because cruising is becoming so popular. But definitely you want to get up the ladder and cross a couple of those thresholds so that you can have consistent access to those perks every time you cruise.
Got it. Now, we were on a cruise ship once together. You had me on as a guest, and you showed me a lot of interesting trinkets that you bring with you, that you always have with you on a cruise. And I was wondering if you could show some of those off, because I was fascinated by those.
Okay, well, this actually is Donna's main bailiwick. I'm kind of the cruise planner, and she's the cruise provisioner. So she puts together the things that help save us money. One of those, of course, is the ways that we save money in doing laundry. Of course, the cruise line will take bags of laundry and charge you for doing it, and they're very responsive in doing that. That's if necessary, but if you want to save money and you don't want to hand all your things over, especially if you have delicates that you want to make sure are handled properly, then you want to be prepared to do some laundry yourself. So Donna's little kit bag starts out with something as simple as a few little old shampoo bottles, but filled with laundry detergent.
Okay, great.
And these will get through most securities, so you don't have any problem because of the size. Don't bring 6 dozen or something, but if you have a couple of these in your baggage, then they'll easily make it through security. Next thing that goes along with that, which is the one larger thing that we bought that's worked out very well for us.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
There's a thing called a scrub-a-wash bag, and if you've ever done any kayaking or anything along that line, you might recognize it as what some people would call a dry bag, but this is essentially a reverse dry bag. So instead of keeping water out, you actually put the water in with a little bit of this detergent.
Yep.
And once you burp it to get a little of the air out, you roll it down like this. You fold it over like this. It's now sealed. You got your little clear area here so you can see what's being laundered as you go along. And you do your various motions of agitation for a while. And lo and behold, you've got some pretty clean things to work with once you have finished the process. And of course, you have a shower and a sink so you can do your rinsing there, pour things out. No problem with that. But then you have to hang them up to dry, of course. And that in Oh, yes,
So you travel with that all the time. You bring that with you.
we do.
You're the
Yeah,
man.
actually, it also is a nice way to carry that bottle of wine you were going to bring because
Okay,
you
yeah,
wrap it
yeah.
in a little
Oh, you
something
put
pretty
it in there so if it breaks,
in
yeah.
case there's an accident, you contain the damage.
You
So
thought of it all. Wonderful.
she has thought of it all. To go along with that, now you have to go into the drying cycle. So you're going to want to be able to hang things in various places.
Uh-huh.
So we always have a few of these kind of clips available to hang things up. And of course, if you're going to hang them, you got to have some place to hang them. So on most cruise ships, you find out that most of the walls are magnetic. The ceiling is usually magnetic. If the windows are not magnetic, but if you have a suction cup, you can put a suction cup on the window. So we carry a few of these. They also make handy little gifts to leave behind with your room attendants because they usually kind of covet them when they see the flexibility. So you hang this, typically hang it near the air vents, not from the air vents. You're usually told not to do that. Or outside if you got the nice sun out there and it's calm or you're in port, so it'll dry out fairly quickly. And the final trick is to make sure that you get all the excess water out before you hang them out to dry. And that's simple. Donna usually makes a trip up to the pool, gets a couple of pool towels. We bring them back after the laundry's been washed and then initially wrung out by hand. We lay it out in the pool towel. This is a team sport at this point, by the way. We wrap it up in the pool towel. She takes one end, I take the other end. We squeeze out all the water. And we have had concierges who've been on ships for a long time who were kind of amazed by that revelation because they said, I do my laundry in my room and it never seems to dry. And we said, well, here's how we do it. And they thought it was a great idea. So it's cruise line tested.
How to say I cruise a lot without saying I cruise a lot. That's amazing. Hey, and I know that you also bring a lot of thank you notes, and even I think you've got some little some printed notes that you have for room attendants and that sort of
Yes.
stuff.
So what the first, which is our list of things to tell the room attendant, basically is a list of your preferences, your do's and don'ts, special requests when necessary. It's not directly a money saving item, but it is. I think it's an appreciation saving item, and it's a communication item, right? So we can tell our room attendants, and I'll use a simple example. We've been on enough cruises. We've seen probably all of the towel animals that can be built. So please don't build any towel animals for us. Well, that saves them time. They
Oh,
put
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of extra time into putting those things in your room, and for us to say that they don't need to do it for us saves them a little bit of time. So it's not our savings, it's their savings. But what do we get in appreciation? If they do one, it's because they really appreciate something that we did or something that we're celebrating. So it's special for them. And being on our little note, it also informs their room supervisor because the room supervisor will go through to check things and they'll say, oh, you didn't do the towel animal or you didn't put the duvet on correctly. Or they said, look, here's my instructions. My customer doesn't want that. And so that's, it keeps information flowing in the proper way and keeps things in coordination. The room attendants, I think, appreciate that level of consideration, so they tend to treat you nicely and take care of you. So you may not save $1, but you'll definitely have a better time, I think, as you go along.
Wonderful.
And let's see, there was one other thing I was going to mention in that area that will come to me.
Might be the thank you notes, maybe. That you
Yeah. Let's hit the thank you notes for a second. Again, this is really just being kind to other people, and kindness reaps kindness. That's all it's for. We love to show our appreciation, particularly for the crew. It's nice to have thank you notes. It's nice to have birthday cards or a generic card that you can write whatever the event may be on it. We have written notes for the bridge crew. We've written notes for the hotel director about his hotel staff. And all we want to do is let people know that we appreciate them. They in turn appreciate you. And on the odd occasion, we found an extra unexplained bottle of wine in our rooms or something like that. So you don't necessarily do that for that feedback, but if you send out a blessing, sometimes a blessing returns.
And I've got no doubt you've made countless friends, acquaintanceships, people you've met all around the world over the years.
Indeed, and Donna is very good at keeping in touch with a lot of our friends. We have some that have gone even beyond their cruising career into their later lives, and young folks that we've met who are now married, and we're hearing about their babies and things like that. So it really is a family sort of environment when you're able to do that.
That's wonderful. You couldn't get more from travel than that. And say, true or false question for you, real quick. The best time to book a cruise for best deals would be when you're on a cruise. I've heard that quite often you will be offered steep discounts by a cruise line when you're on it if you book your next one while you're still on your cruise.
Okay, so it is true, but I'll also say it has a little false tinge to it because almost like airline pricing, you can never tell exactly when the best price is going to occur. But generally speaking, when you book on board, they certainly will offer you whatever the current sale is.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little specialty incentive. And on top of that, it's the only time that they can usually combine perks that go along, particularly in the category of onboard credit.
Yeah.
So if something special is being offered, you'll get that price and you'll get access to that onboard credit. But if there is an extra incentive for booking on board, you can keep both of them. And you remember when I mentioned the shareholders benefit, I said there are some times when you can't get them both. Well, this is the one time where you really can get both of them. So that will generally make it the most attractive price you can get. We do try to book on board. The other advantage of booking on board is it's the one time when it's easy to transfer something that you book directly with the cruise line to your travel agent. Now, in our case, that's Costco Travel, as we've mentioned, but there certainly would be others, BJ's and Sam's Club and other things like that, all have the same sorts of relationships. And that means that now you have access to whatever incentives the travel agent is offering, and some of them can be substantial. So you don't want to lose that opportunity because you booked with the cruise line. So take advantage of both. And then I'll put my little asterisk next to it's true, because occasionally, and it's not to say you can't do this while you're on the cruise, but it takes real planning to do it. Occasionally, the best time to book a cruise is within the first few days of when it is released on the schedule. So you can't always be on a ship to get that best price, but usually when they're trying to get those first names next to cabin numbers on a newly announced cruise, that may be the best price that you can see. And we've seen that true as far as a year and a half out from when the cruise is going to go.
You can book cruises very far out. I know people that have booked cruises, I've got the impression, even 2 years out, unlike flights and such, where you can only go about 11 to 12 months.
That's correct. They usually try to get they're obviously doing all their planning 2 years ahead, because you have a lot of port access issues and flow issues and repositioning issues for ships and modernization, all those things. So they need to get those schedules put together early, and as soon as they're ready and solid, they want to get them out there to start the early bookings, because, well, as a business, it's a future booking sort of thing for future stock value, right?
Yeah.
They want those names next to those cabins, and that's obviously the more names you get, the better. So the lower the price you can give, the more names you'll get.
Interesting. Now, how about Wi-Fi? Wi-Fi is a real thorn when it comes to cruising.
Yeah.
Wi-Fi
has been one of our. It started out as one of our earliest challenges. Of course, when we started out, we were taking shorter cruises, and we always were trying to save money, so we didn't want to buy a package. We didn't have any loyalty, so we didn't get much free access. So what we did as a coping mechanism, of course, is we started looking at the ports that we were going to and trying to figure out where in that port you could pick up some Wi-Fi. So the easiest is when you get into one of the larger ports, you usually have Wi-Fi access right there. If you're not running a business and you don't need flowing Wi-Fi, then you can usually suffice with that. If you want to get a little more off the beaten track, so to speak, we frequently find that places like libraries in a government environment will have Wi-Fi available. Sometimes you don't even have to go inside, but most of the time you go in, get the password, and then you can even sit outside and monitor it. Beyond that, then, of course, you look for the chains that you know. Starbucks will usually have Wi-Fi available. McDonald's will usually have Wi-Fi available. And again, in most larger places, certainly you can go to a local restaurant, cafe, have a cup of coffee, eat a small meal, and sit there and do Wi-Fi while you are enjoying the environment. So those are kind of the key ways to handle it. For those who also worry about phone access, it is worth noting that if you put your phone on airplane mode but enable voice over IP, if you can get Wi-Fi, you may be able to use the phone for free with voice over IP. Mm-hmm. That may be a little bit bandwidth limited, but we've been in fairly remote parts of the world able to complete a phone call for nothing, basically.
I had seen, coming out of the pandemic, some cruise lines including Wi-Fi in packages. I know at the highest tiers of loyalty programs, you couldn't get free Wi-Fi to one extent or another. But do you see that as much of an option in terms of including Wi-Fi in packages? Or is that...
Yeah, I think they're going more to that now, and I think it's probably because the quality of the Wi-Fi is getting better, making it more accessible. It's sort of like any utility. When it's spotty and difficult, then you charge for it and you put up with the complaints that you get because it's spotty and difficult. But when everybody has it every day and they go on a cruise ship and find out it's going to cost them extra, they start saying, maybe I should take my business elsewhere. So more and more the prices are kind of coming down, the quality is going up, and the access is getting a bit better.
As with technology and the evolution of the internet back in the early days, that's how it went. And how about just in terms of minimizing hit to currency differences, foreign transaction fees, do you have a certain way to navigate all that? Whether it's a credit, you don't have to name specific credit cards you use. Maybe it's that, or maybe other things to minimize, those sorts of surcharges.
Yeah, I think first I would say, although we, like many people, tried to do money exchanges early on, we found out that more and more we used less and less of the money and ended up with more and more money left over that we couldn't do anything with except put in a scrapbook. And of course, trying to exchange it back to U.S. dollars is a losing proposition. You'll probably lose 40 or to 50%, well, not 50%, but 40% of the original value in doing double transactions. So avoid it when you can. We obviously have dollars. We'll deal with some of the larger currencies. I've got some Canadian dollars, as it turns out, some British pounds. Euros is usually reasonable, and that can even stand you in good stead in other places around the world, like Reunion Island, a French outpost. So those are the usable ones that I wouldn't object to too much, but other things like Indian rupees and some other things like that become problematic. And if you have something like an itinerary change, you may not get to use it all. So number one, find yourself a nice credit card. Make sure that it has no foreign transaction fees. And number two, always request that your transaction be denominated in the local currency, because your bank will get a much more favorable exchange rate than you will in trying to exchange that money or accepting what they will charge you in US dollars as a convenience fee. So do those two things initially. Have enough small American bills that you can leave tips in US dollars. Most people don't complain about it. Only one or two places where, in fact, we usually carry $2 bills because they're kind of distinctive and it helps people remember who you are in a sea of tourists, in a sense. And only once or twice have we been told by someone it's useless to them because they can't exchange that. So do use dollars to your advantage. Don't change more money than you need to. Do be circumspect about what countries you exchange money for, and remember that the itinerary may change and blow your whole plan out of the water.
I've met with friends from other countries that were visiting. One from, I say he's from London. He's from the outskirts. He considers it to be an insult saying he's from London. But anyway, he comes, we pull out XE currency converter and we do the currency exchange right there. And I just give him cash and we swap cash at the exact rate. So no surcharges or anything. Sometimes it's a bit of a pain, but when I've got friends that I'm visiting, sometimes we'll do that just for fun.
Yeah. In fact, I was going to mention that, and I'm glad you did bring it up, because especially when you're traveling on a ship that may have people from Australia or someplace in Europe, and you just have that convenience of saying, "Hey, I need a few of these. Will you take some dollars?" Sure. So it's usually easy to do. It's a handshake, and it's usually at the going spot rate.
A little joke. I'm an ATM, or I'm not an ATM. Yes, and you mentioned with credit cards too. I'm not aware of any co-branded credit cards that are directly affiliated with cruise lines. You see them for airlines and hotel chains and such. But are there any credit cards that you use to accumulate points? Perhaps transferable points toward cruises. Are there any that are out there?
I thought about this question a bit because there are just so many good options out there that you have the opportunity to find one that fits your spending style best. You mentioned the airlines. Frankly, if you are using cruising as a way to cruise around the world, occasionally you got to get there, and those airline costs can be significant. So we have used, in our case, it's United because we're near Dulles Airport, so it's a hub, gives us a lot of flexibility. But we used to accumulate a lot of frequent flyer miles there, and we would save the cost of flying to get to the cruise. So if that's part of your spend pattern, then consider that. Some of the cruise lines now do have a name branded, Royal Caribbean does. It's probably good if you like to cruise a lot, but you have to be a little careful about seeing what the limitations are, because in some cases you would say, oh, I'll just pay for the whole cruise, but they may not let you do that. They may give you onboard credit, or they may let you pay for an upgrade or something, but they may not let you pay for the whole cruise that way. We use a travel card. It's actually the Costco Anywhere Visa card, which is one of the higher rated cards that I've seen for travel applications. It gives you good return. Well, usually the highest return is on gas or EV vehicles these days, but right behind that is usually dining and travel. So we get good return on that card. As it turns out, because we book through Costco Travel, money spent through Costco Travel also gets a little return benefit. And if you book with one of these, I will say, wholesale big box stores, and there may be others, but these are the only ones I'm directly familiar with, they will give you a return as your travel agent, more or less. In the case of Costco, I can tell you it's about 7% of what you spend on a cruise you get back in Costco cash cards.
Wow.
So I would always favor cash over onboard credit because you're closer to telling what its real value is.
Yes.
So if you get 7% for them and you get 3% back from the credit card, and you get a couple of percent back just from spending through Costco, you're getting in essence a 10% discount on every cruise that you book. So we've taken advantage of that for quite a while, and I will tell you just as an anecdote, at the level we've been cruising, we actually bought gold through Costco. So it's not just a return, it's an investment.
Well, very well said. I speak with representatives of Costco, and they don't give me that level of insight. I'm not sure if they don't have the consumer angle or perspective when inquiring about travel benefits with for Costco members. But that's really insightful. Something else I do with Costco too is when I'm traveling, any city that has a Costco has a section that has local gift cards and discounts on activities and excursions. Sometimes 3 lift tickets for the price of 2 in places like Denver if you're going skiing, or sometimes $100 gift cards that cost only about $80. So you're getting about 25% in excess of what you're paying for them. So
that's a good story. If you have time for an anecdote, I'll tell you our little experience pursuing a Costco. We were in Reykjavik, and actually this does play out a little bit of our strategy. So we got online and found the answer to the question, is there a Costco? Well, there is a Costco just outside of Reykjavik. Wow. How did we get there? Well, we mapped a route and we took 3 buses to get there. So it cost us a couple of dollars a piece to get out to Costco. You mentioned the cards and local purchases. We actually went to see if they had local items on sale in Costco, like sweaters or something that we might want. And the real reason we went was we wanted to go see if they had the iconic Icelandic hot dog at Costco for $1.50. Well, so we made it there on the buses. We had a nice trip. It was a good adventure. They did not have any sweaters, so we were disappointed there. They did have the iconic Icelandic hot dogs, but they were out of stock, so we didn't get that either.
Oh, no.
But at least we had the adventure.
Wonderful. That's great. Thank you. That was a good way to kind of tie a lot of those things together. Well, Cy, you are a wealth of knowledge. Just about anyone watching, myself included, can only dream of having as many cruising experiences as you've had. And not many people can meet someone who's done as much cruising as you. So the insight that you have is absolutely phenomenal. So thank you for taking some time to share this with us today.
Well, I'm glad you found it interesting, and I want to, again, give thanks to Donna for helping put this together and organize our thinking. We're travel buddies in this process. And for anybody out there who wants to see the world, cruising's a good way to go, and there's money to be saved, so
wonderful. Well, yeah, thank you to Donna, your background producer there. We may see a little waving hand there coming out from the corner there in a moment. But great, wonderful. Well, happy cruising, and good chance that someone watching will see you on a cruise one day as much as you cruise. So that could be the case as well. So thanks again.
All right, we're looking forward to seeing you out there, folks. Bye now.
Bye-bye.